Hey everyone, it's Captain Kyle, and in this special video, I'll be talking about science fiction movies that were turned into television shows. Now, some were successful, some did okay, and some definitely didn't catch on. Plus, at the end, I have a bonus TV series that kind of was a you'll understand. So without further ado, let's get to this list of 12 sci-fi movies that were adapted to TV. Number 12. Planet of the Apes. This series hit the small screen in 1974 as a follow-up to the highly successful film franchise, though honestly they kept cutting the budget with every film, so the later films were not as popular. After Battle for the Planet of the Apes was released, CBS ordered 14 episodes to be produced, and the series started like the original movie, with 3 astronauts crash landing on this future Earth. Zaius, who is supposed to be from the original movie, states that this had happened before, about 10 years ago. So they didn't replace the first movie, but apparently they ignored the bomb that the second movie set off, or the effects of that bomb were much smaller in scale than we were led to believe. Now, Roddy McDowall was in the series as a young chimpanzee named Galen. And while McDowall was the only actor to come from the movie franchise, another actor in the series is well known to the fandom community. Mark Leonard, who is known for playing Spock's father Sarek in the Star Trek franchise, played Security Chief Urko, a violent gorilla, and the main bad guy. Unfortunately, the series suffered from poor ratings and was canceled after the initial 14-episode run. I guess people didn't go ape for it? Number 11. Westworld. While many people are familiar with the hit 2016 series Westworld, they may not realize it is based on the 1973 film and somewhat on the 1976 sequel called Future World. But that Westworld movie actually spawned 2 TV series. In 1980, Beyond Westworld was a series based on the first movie, but it pretty much ignored the sequel. Though there were only 5 episodes produced, it did receive 2 Emmy nominations for Outstanding Achievement in Makeup and Outstanding Art Direction for a series. Now, only 3 episodes were aired before it was canceled, though in the UK, various broadcasters did air all 5 episodes. And it did have some star power, with actors such as James Wainwright and Connie Sellecca, the latter of which appeared in several superhero flicks such as Captain America 2 and The Greatest American Hero. Unfortunately, the original show didn't last long, but the 2016 version is still going strong, and season 4 is supposed to drop in 2022. Number 10. Starman. Based on the Jeff Bridges film of the same name, it takes place 15 years after the original story and has the alien from the first film return, though in a new clone body, this time made from a deceased photojournalist. Robert Hayes took over the role as the alien and teams up with his son to find Jenny Hayden. I do have to say it made total sense to use a new actor for the main character, since the alien would make his body based on genetic material he found. In both the movie and in the series, it used DNA of people who had passed on. I wonder what would have happened if he had duplicated someone still alive. The series was an interesting concept, but ultimately was canceled after 1 season. It did have quite the cast, with Airplane's Robert Hayes, his character's son played by Christopher Daniel Barnes, who is very well known as the voice actor behind Spider-Man, and Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid. It also featured Michael Cavanaugh, who has starred in such greats as The West Wing in 24, and Jenny Hayden was played by Erin Gray, who is known for playing Colonel Wilma Deering from Buck Rogers in the 25th Century, and also her role on Silver Spoons. But despite all the talent, ratings suffered, and the 1 season is all we got. Number 9. War of the Worlds. In 1988, a television series based on the 1953 film War of the Worlds was released. Now, yes, you could say it's based on the book, but the film was more based on the concept of H.G. Wells' novel, and the series continued from the movie version. And it was a great idea for a series, stating that the aliens did not actually die from exposure to Earth's bacteria, as the film said, but were actually in a sort of suspended animation instead, perhaps as a sort of biological defense mechanism. The government apparently covered up as much evidence of the original attack as they could, and that, along with selective amnesia, whatever the hell that was, convinced people that the attack never actually happened. Years later, a terrorist attack, because it's always terrorists, causes some of the stored aliens to become irradiated, and it killed off the germs. Thus, they awaken. From there, it became a kind of invasion of the body snatchers type show with aliens taking control of humans. And their plan was to take over the planet, of course, and find a permanent way to protect their people from the bacteria. Since they have 3 million colonists on the way, and they'll be arriving in, 5 years or so. And they aren't from Mars, which was in the original book, since now we know that would be highly unlikely. They're from a world called Mortax, which is a planet reviled throughout the galaxy for its high taxes. It's about 40 light years away and orbits a dying star. Now, overall, it was a cool series, but it only lasted for 2 seasons. It was canceled after airing 14 episodes of the second season, but 6 more episodes were completed and the production team was able to, thankfully, create a finale. Now, there is a second War of the Worlds TV series that had its first season of 8 episodes in 2019 and will premiere the second season in June of 2021. However, that series is not based on the movie, but on the original source material, the book, so it doesn't count, I guess. Number 8, Alien Nation. Based on the 1988 movie, this series premiered in 1989 and follows a police detective and his newcomer partner as they try to solve various crimes. The USA had truly become a melting pot when a flying saucer crashed in the desert and the Tectonese asked for refuge. It was a funhouse mirror for society as the storylines touched on issues such as racism, bigotry, and discrimination, though it wasn't as heavy-handed as some shows are today. Plus, the aliens were a great way to get rid of spoiled milk. Now, it ran for only 1 season and was actually a success for the Fox network, but due to financial shortfalls, they ended up canceling all their dramatic series that year. Later, there would be 5 made-for-TV movies as follow-ups. This was one of those weird situations where the show was great, but the network had issues and the series suffered for that. Expanse. Number 7, Robocop. A live-action Robocop series based on the movies premiered in 1994. Peter Weller, the original movie actor, was approached to be in the series, but instead Richard Eden played the title role. Now, some character names were changed between the movie and the TV show due to rights issues. It was an expensive series to produce as well, with episodes costing $1.2 million to $1.5 million a piece. Now, it was modeled more after the kid-friendlier Robocop 3 model, which may be one reason it had less than stellar reviews and pretty low ratings. It was canceled after only 1 season, but the Robocop series got rebooted, so to speak, in the 2001 Robocop Prime Directive miniseries. Now, this new series pretty much ignored the second and third movies and the family-friendly series and went back to the more violent, darker roots of the original. Though writer Joseph O'Brien stated that the Prime Directive miniseries didn't actually contradict those other Robocop tales, but it was set 10 years after the first movie to give it distance both temporally and creatively. Though it was criticized for the low-budget special effects, as many shows at the time were, it did recoup its costs through airing on Space in Canada and Sci-Fi in the US, as well as foreign sales. Now, it had a definite ending for the story, but it certainly left it open for Robocop to be booted up once again. Number 6, Stargate. Now, Stargate was a great movie with some very cool concepts and incredible special effects in 1994. In 1997, Showtime would release a TV series based on the movie that made this one of the longest-lasting sci-fi franchises on the small screen. Stargate SG-1 swapped Kurt Russell for Richard Dean Anderson and James Spader with Michael Shanks, but essentially picked up after the events of the movie, and it ran for 10 seasons, though Showtime would give up on the series and the Sci-Fi Channel would take it over. It's considered Sci-Fi's 4th most successful series ever, behind only Eureka, Battlestar Galactica, and The Expanse. In addition, there were 3 more spin-offs: Stargate Atlantis, Stargate Universe, and Stargate Infinity, the last one being animated. Plus, they had a series of web episodes Of all the sci-fi movies that were turned into television series, this is likely the most successful on this list, and possibly one of the most successful movie spin-offs that hit TV ever. Now, after SG-1 ended, there were also 2 more made-for-TV movies. Wow. And today, the fandom is still very much alive. Rumors about a new Stargate project run rampant. I personally can't wait for the next chapter in the Stargate saga. Number 5, Timecop. The ABC series Timecop premiered in 1997 and was based on the 1994 movie Timecop starring Jean-Claude Van Damme. 13 episodes of the series were ordered, but only 9 were aired. What happened to the other 4? Lost in time, I guess? Van Damme played Agent Max Walker, while the lead of the TV series, Ted King, played Officer Jack Logan. While the 2 stories might be in the same universe, there weren't any holdovers from the movie. Though with time travel, it could be a different universe or alternate timeline, or, it gets confusing. Unfortunately, due to poor advertising and ratings, the show was canceled. Writer Mark Verheiden expressed his regret that they didn't make the show darker and grittier. But as it was an 8 p.m. show, family-friendly was the rule. I'm so glad we have all these streaming services nowadays. Could you imagine a family-friendly version of The Boys? Number 4, Terminator and T2. The Terminator movie, and more directly Terminator 2 Judgment Day, were the inspiration for the 2008 series Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles. The series also hinted at the eventual off-screen death of Sarah Connor in Terminator 3, though with all the time travel, perhaps that could have been corrected. Sarah and John Connor were played by Lena Headey and Thomas Dekker respectively, instead of bringing in any of the cast from the movies. There was no Arnold either. It was an action-packed sci-fi show that was well written and was, in my opinion, a better T2 sequel than T3 ever was. It had some intricate storylines and some great additional actors such as Summer Glau, Brian Austin Green, and Garrett Dillahunt. Even with the writer's strike in the midst of it, it lasted for 2 seasons. Though the first was only 9 episodes, as it was a mid-season show. But it was canceled after the second season due to low ratings, which might be due to the before its time serialized storytelling. Of course it would be before its time. It's time travel. And of course, it ended on a cliffhanger. Number 3, Limitless. This 2015 show, based on the 2011 Limitless movie, was a direct sequel. It introduced Brian Finch, played by Jake McDorman, as a guy who discovers the NZT drug that allows him to access every neuron in his brain and become super smart. Bradley Cooper, who played Eddie Mora in the film and plays the same character in the TV show, only as a US Senator now, recruits Brian and gives him a shot that counteracts the negative side effects of the drug, the price being that Brian would be one of Mora's spies and agents. So Brian works with the FBI to solve crimes, but has to keep his relationship with the Senator secret. Obviously. Now, it got convoluted, and perhaps a regular supply of NZT would have helped viewers appreciate it more, but alas, even with a great cast and the very rare situation with the original actor and character from the movie actually appearing in it, Limitless was anything but. It was canceled after 1 season. Number 2, Minority Report. A sequel to the 2002 film of the same name, this 2015 series followed 3 precogs who could see the future as they helped a police detective to save people before they could be murdered. As the events of the movie saw the shutdown of the pre-crime unit, all these unemployed precognitives needed to do something with their time, and a lot of it was hiding, because others would want to use them for their abilities. But while it's an interesting premise, it really failed to capture the same feel as the movie, and the ratings suffered for it. Apparently the precogs couldn't see the order of 13 episodes being cut to 10, and the subsequent cancellation. And finally, number 1, Frequency. Another time travel-ish show. Frequency used a similar premise to the 2000 movie. Airing in 2016, a police detective uses an old radio to communicate with her deceased father in the past. Accidentally changes a timeline, and her mother becomes the victim of a serial killer, so she and her father have to work to solve the crime by working it in 2 eras. The plot did end up getting rather convoluted, but the acting was top-notch, with stars like Peyton List, Riley Smith, Daniel Bonjour, and Mekhi Phifer. However, it didn't quite get the ratings the CW hoped for, and was canceled after just 1 season. If only someone could have warned someone about that from the future. But the CW did release an epilogue video that wrapped up the series, which was very kind of them. So there you have it. 12 science fiction movies that spawned TV series. Some of them can be streamed, some are a little harder to find. I put links to what is available in the description below. And yes, for simplicity's sake, we did avoid the Star Wars films, which have spawned a lot of series and continue to do so. However, I did promise a bonus. There was a science fiction TV series that was also a movie, but the movie wasn't exactly a separate entity. Battlestar Galactica was originally going to be a series of TV movies, but ended up with a theatrical release, with the pilot movie being cut down for that. Now, differences between the pilot and theatrical release included additional scenes where Baltar does not get executed, and at the end gets his own trio of base stars to hunt down the ragtag fugitive fleet, thus setting up the series. So I would hesitate to say BSG was a series inspired by a movie because it wasn't originally going to be in theaters, but it was a great series, even if it didn't last long, and it did spawn that Galactica 1980 rubbish. But it did inspire the reboot, which was excellent in a different way. Now, I hope this video has inspired you to watch some of these gems. But speaking of gems to watch, you can also check out some of these other fandom videos over here. And you can subscribe using that button if you haven't already, and be sure to hit the notification bell. You can also follow us on the social things and visit our site at fandomspotlight.com for more fandom content. See you next time, and as always, have fun and follow your fandom.